I bought a foreclosed mountain cabin for 12 grand after my divorce, figuring I'd fix it up, maybe flip it. Miguel, my contractor, rode shotgun as we wound up the mountain road. The plan was simple: inspect, repair, rebuild my life. But as we rounded the last curve, I slammed the brakes. Cars filled my driveway. The cabin had fresh paint. Kids' bikes were scattered across the yard. A blonde woman in yoga pants opened the front door before I could knock. "Can I help you?" she asked, that fake sweet tone oozing condescension. I held up my deed. "Ma'am, this is my property." She glanced at it, then laughed. "Oh, sweetie, we've been here over a year. Adverse possession. Look it up." She smirked and shut the door in my face while the smell of lunch drifted out. My kitchen. That's how this nightmare began. My name's Jake, 45, contractor, newly divorced. I'd built homes in Denver for 15 years until my wife, Lisa, ran off with her yoga instructor, a sandal-wearing fraud who thought Sage could fix mortgages. Colorado's no-fault divorce law meant none of that mattered. Everything split down the middle. My house, my tools, my truck, all gone to fund her spiritual awakening. When the county auction listing appeared, mountain cabin, 2 acres, Woodland Park. Starting bid $8,000, I saw a lifeline. The photos showed a rotting deck, shattered windows, weeds taller than the porch. Perfect. I bid 12 grand and won. The previous owner, Harold Brennan, had lived there 30 years before dying alone. No family, no will. County records showed everything clean. Clear title, taxes settled. My plan: fix it up, sell for 60 grand, restart my life. Simple. Except someone got there first. Brenda Hutchkins, 52, bleached blonde, designer yoga wear, a predator who'd made a career targeting foreclosed properties and recently divorced men. She'd done this scam in 3 other counties. With her lived Tyler, her 25-year-old burnout son, and Madison, 17, her trained-for-sympathy daughter. For 8 months, they'd been running an illegal Airbnb, mountain getaway retreat, at $150 a night, raking in thousands while claiming primary residence on tax forms. The scam worked until she got greedy. A county inspector asked about unpermitted renovations, and instead of hiding, Brenda filed a harassment complaint, claiming she was being bullied by corporate investors. By the time I arrived, she'd built a whole fiction around my cabin. I knocked again. A scruffy guy, Tyler, appeared behind her holding a phone. "I need to see proof you live here legally," I said. Brenda smiled that sugar-poisoned smile. "Oh, honey, we're residents. You're the trespasser. Tyler, call the sheriff." 20 minutes later, a cruiser pulled up. Deputy Rick Morrison greeted Brenda with a hug. My stomach dropped. She'd already worked her charm. "This man's harassing us," she said, tears instantly ready. "He's been threatening my family." I held up the deed. "I bought this property legally 3 months ago." Rick barely glanced at it. "Sir, even if that's true, they've been living here." "You can't evict them without court process. They're squatters," I protested. "Civil matter," he said flatly. "You'll need a judge." Brenda sobbed harder. "He scared my children." "What if he comes back at night?" Rick turned sternly to me. "Sir, leave now or you'll be arrested for harassment." Smoke drifted from my chimney while I was ordered off my property. The drive down was silent except for Miguel muttering, "Boss, this is messed up." That night, I found Brenda's posts spreading across local Facebook groups. Corporate investor tries to evict single mom from family home of 1 year. He's throwing my children on the street. Hundreds of comments followed, calling me greedy, heartless, a predator. Strangers cheering for the scammer. By morning, rage replaced disbelief. I started digging. County assessor, lawyer, utility office. Everywhere Brenda's name appeared, I found red flags. Utilities only 8 months old. Unpaid debts across 3 counties. And a prior eviction for the same caretaker scam. Revenge started brewing. 3 days later, she escalated. Local news aired her sob story. A family facing eviction by a corporate landlord. GoFundMe link included. Brenda cried on camera, talking about caring for dying Harold. Madison clutched a sign reading, "Don't make us homeless." Tyler hammered theatrically in the background. I almost threw my coffee mug at the screen. That's when I met Rosemary Rhee, a retired corporate fraud attorney turned mountain lawyer. She scanned my documents, her tea steaming on the table. "Textbook fraud," she said, "but we'll need to prove it." Within days, she uncovered Brenda's pattern. Jefferson, Boulder, Larimer, same scam, different victims. Then came the jackpot, Brenda's real address. A trailer 40 miles away, taxes and utilities in her name. She'd been living there while renting my cabin on Airbnb. Locals helped, too. Frank at Murphy's Hardware showed me receipts for sage green paint and lumber billed to Brenda, supplies used on my cabin. Lisa Rodriguez from a diner recalled Brenda's charity con, pretending to need food for a dying mother while buying steaks with food stamps. Brenda had been bleeding the whole town dry. But her arrogance would kill her. Claiming a primary residence exemption on false information, that was tax fraud, a felony. So I called 3 numbers, the IRS fraud hotline, the Colorado Department of Revenue, and Channel 9 News. "Hi, Sarah," I said to the reporter who'd aired her sob story. "Want proof your single mom is running a scam?" By noon, Brenda's GoFundMe was frozen. Tax agents were on their way to the cabin. 2 weeks later, Miguel called. "Boss, get up here now. Bring a camera." When I arrived, my stomach dropped. Windows smashed. Doors ripped off hinges. Tyler on the porch with a beer. "Had some safety issues," he sneered. "Emergency repairs." Inside looked bombed. Holes in walls, water flooding floors. Brenda appeared, filming with her phone. "We've been forced to fix this dangerous property. Look how he neglects it. She was staging damage to blame me." But she didn't know I'd installed hidden cameras. Every swing of Tyler's sledgehammer was recorded. I showed her the footage. "Criminal mischief, felony territory." Her face drained. Moments later, my phone buzzed with a text. "Drop the case or it gets worse. We know where you live." That night, while reviewing footage, I found something else. Tyler had busted a wall and revealed a hidden cavity stuffed with Harold's papers. Bank statements, medical records, insurance policy naming Brenda as beneficiary. I called Rosemary. "You're describing elder abuse," she said. "Maybe worse." Harold's medical charts showed rapid decline right after Brenda became his caregiver. Suspicious medications. Forged signatures granting her financial control. Then I saw it. Harold's $40,000 life insurance policy listing Brenda Hutchkins. The signature didn't match his handwriting. "Murder," Rosemary whispered. The next day, my truck was vandalized. "Predator!" Spray painted across the side, note reading, "Final warning." Instead of fear, I felt ice-cold focus. I contacted the FBI. Agent Sarah Martinez met me that night, black coffee in hand, eyes sharp. "This isn't just fraud," she said. "It's likely murder. Maybe multiple." She took Harold's files. "If she poisoned him for insurance, she's facing life." 3 days later, she called me to a midnight truck stop. Diesel fumes and cold wind set the mood. Martinez slid photos across the table, Harold healthy, then emaciated months later. "She's done this before," Martinez said grimly. 4 elderly men, same pattern. Financial serial killer. Brenda had met Harold at a senior grief group, posed as a widow, gained his trust, then isolated and killed him. Arsenic likely. Slow, hard to detect. She'd even forged residency forms to claim the payout illegally. Then Martinez dropped another bomb. Harold's nephew, Fletcher, has been tracking her for years. He documented 3 other deaths. He's flying in tomorrow. I realized I'd stumbled into a serial killer's life. The next day, my apartment turned into FBI Command Central. Fletcher arrived, a quiet man with grief carved into his face. Together, we laid out the case. Medical files, bank withdrawals, forged documents, all pointing to Brenda. "She killed my uncle," Fletcher said softly. "And now she's going to pay." The FBI, IRS, and insurance fraud units launched parallel investigations. Every crime Brenda had ever committed was unraveling. But we needed one more thing. A confession. Martinez smiled. "Let her keep thinking she's winning. Every move she makes helps us bury her." Brenda took the bait. Her next stunt, a full-blown smear campaign. She created fake Facebook accounts, Twitter profiles. Even Yelp reviews calling me a racist slumlord who targeted single mothers, photos doctored to make me look unhinged. My business page flooded with threats. Then she found my ex-wife online, commented under her photos accusing me of abuse. Lisa called, voice shaky. "Jake, who is this woman?" "Don't respond," I told her. "She's dangerous." Meanwhile, Tyler appeared outside my apartment, smoking like a thug in a cheap movie. "Mom says we can make a deal," he said. "Split Harold's insurance. 20 grand each. You realize that's a confession to fraud?" I asked, recording everything. He grinned. "Accidents happen to stubborn people. 2 days later, my tires were slashed. Then a brick through my window with a note. Final warning. Brenda was losing control. Then she crossed the final line, calling the insurance company again, pretending to be Harold's estate administrator, demanding a second payout. The call was recorded. Her voice, her lies, clear as day. And then Tyler made his own fatal move, breaking into my apartment while FBI surveillance was running. Every second filmed, him rifling through documents, stealing my laptop. Federal evidence theft, Brenda's empire was collapsing. Then Madison, her daughter, cracked. She walked into the sheriff's office crying, asking to talk. She told them everything. Her mother bragged about killing Harold, about other old fools she'd conned, and even planned to burn down the cabin to frame me. "She's talking to bikers," Madison confessed. "She wants them to make Jake disappear." The FBI raided Brenda's calls and arrested 3 Iron Wolves bikers heading to my address with gasoline. Brenda had paid them 5 grand to kill me. Madison handed over recordings, Brenda's voice bragging, high and manic. That old fool never saw it coming. A little antifreeze in his coffee every morning. He thought he had the flu. Signed everything before he croaked. Agent Martinez's face hardened. "That's a murder confession. Brenda even ranted about me. Divorced guys are easy. Make their lives miserable till they quit. If they don't, well, accidents happen." The mountain air outside my window felt colder than ever. I wasn't just fighting fraud. I was surviving an assassination plot. The FBI moved fast. Martinez set up a sting telling me, "We'll finish this publicly. She wants an audience? We'll give her one." The next night would be the town's community meeting, where Brenda had insisted on speaking out against corrupt property owners. It was perfect bait. But before the meeting, she made one last attempt to bury me legally. I woke up to find every tire on my truck slashed and a stack of legal papers shoved into my mailbox. A restraining order, filed by a cheap lawyer named Dennis Kowalski, accusing me of stalking and harassing her. The filing painted me as a violent landlord terrorizing a disabled single mother. Brenda had even produced forged doctor's notes claiming PTSD and heart problems caused by my abuse. Martinez just smirked when I showed her. Fake medical documents. She just added another felony. That afternoon, Tyler and Madison appeared at my door. But this time, Tyler wasn't cocky. He was scared. "Jake, you don't understand," he said, glancing over his shoulder. "Mom's lost it. She's talking about torching the cabin and blaming you." Madison's eyes were red. "She wants bikers to make sure you don't show up tomorrow." I called Martinez instantly. Within an hour, federal agents had intercepted phone calls between Brenda and the hired bikers. She'd wired them 5 grand and detailed where I lived, what time I left home, what kind of truck I drove. The FBI arrested the gang on their way up the mountain, gasoline and weapons in their van. Madison trembled. She said you'd ruin our family, that you deserved what was coming. "You just saved my life," I told her quietly. Then Madison handed Martinez her phone, with a secret recording. Brenda's voice crackled through the speaker. "That old fool never saw it coming. A little antifreeze every day in his coffee. He thought he was getting the flu. Stupid bastard signed everything before he died. I made sure of it." Martinez froze, listening. That was it. The confession. Brenda bragged about how she'd done it before. 3 other old men, same method. And then about me. Jake was supposed to give up, but he won't, so he has to go. The words hung in the air like poison. Martinez exhaled. "Tomorrow night we end this." The community center was packed the next evening. Over 200 people, reporters, neighbors, officials, all waiting to hear Brenda's performance. Folding chairs filled every corner. The smell of coffee and sweat mixed with tense curiosity. I sat in the back, FBI agents scattered throughout the crowd. Martinez's voice whispered in my earpiece, "Stay calm. Let her talk. She'll hang herself." At 7:15 p.m., Brenda rolled in like the star of a tragic movie. Wheelchair, neck brace, fake oxygen tank, arm sling, a full pity costume. Tyler pushed her. Madison followed, pale and silent. The same people who'd once defended her online applauded as if she were a hero. Mayor Patterson called the meeting to order. "We're here to discuss property rights in our community. Mrs. Hutchkins has requested to speak first." Brenda's voice was frail but steady, amplified by the microphone. "I'm here despite my doctor's orders," she began, "because I need everyone to know what's happening to families like mine. We cared for Harold Brennan when no one else would. We kept his home alive after he died. And now this man," she pointed toward me, "wants to throw my children on the street." The crowd murmured in sympathy. Tyler stepped forward on cue. "He made our lives hell. My mom's health is collapsing because of him." I stood up slowly. "Mrs. Hutchkins," I said, my voice cutting through the noise, "how did you know Harold Brennan?" Her eyes flickered. "He was like family. I was his caregiver when he got sick." "What sickness?" "He had dementia," she stammered. I took a step forward. "That's strange. His medical records show no dementia. Would you like to see them?" The room went still. Then Martinez rose from her seat, badge glinting under the lights. "FBI Special Agent Sarah Martinez. Mrs. Hutchkins, you're under investigation for the murder of Harold Brennan." Gasps, shouts. The audience erupted. Brenda's composure cracked, then hardened again. "This is harassment! They're framing me!" From the crowd, a man stood, mid-50s, eyes hollow with grief. "My name's Fletcher Brennan," he said, voice shaking. "Harold was my uncle, and you killed him." The silence was deafening. He walked to the front, eyes locked on Brenda. "You poisoned him, forged his signature, stole his money, and left him to die alone." "That's a lie," she screamed. "He was dying already." Martinez opened a folder. Forged death certificate. Forged insurance claim. Forged power of attorney. And a recording of you confessing. Cameras from 3 local stations zoomed in. Brenda's mask began to slip. Fletcher's voice rose with grief and fury. "He was healthy until you moved in. You drained his accounts and isolated him from everyone he loved." Then Brenda snapped. "He deserved it!" she shouted, suddenly leaping out of the wheelchair, perfectly healthy. "That stupid old man was wasting his money. I made better use of it." The room exploded in gasps and disbelief. Cameras flashed. Martinez stepped forward, calm and steady. "Brenda Hutchkins, you're under arrest for the murder of Harold Brennan and conspiracy to commit murder against Jake Morrison," Brenda screamed, clawing at her sling as the handcuffs clicked. The same people who'd once defended her online now stared in horror. It was over. 6 months later, I sat on my rebuilt porch, sunrise painting the peaks gold. The air was crisp and clean, finally free of her shadow. My coffee tasted like peace. The trial had been swift. Brenda's recorded confession, Madison's testimony, the forged documents, all airtight. The jury took 12 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Judge Hawkins looked Brenda in the eye. "You will die in prison, which is more mercy than you showed your victims. Life without parole. 40 extra years for fraud and attempted murder. Tyler got 8 years for property destruction and conspiracy. He'd serve 4 if he stayed clean. Madison, brave beyond her years, testified against her mother, then went to live with relatives in Texas. Last I heard, she was in therapy and thriving. The community that Brenda had fooled came together like I'd never seen. The weekend after her sentencing, 60 people showed up at my cabin with tools, food, and laughter. We rebuilt every wall Tyler had smashed. The smell of sawdust and barbecue filled the mountain air. Frank from Murphy's Hardware donated supplies. Lisa Rodriguez cooked for everyone. Even Deputy Rick showed up, red-faced and guilty. "She played me," he said, hammering nails beside me. "Should have trusted you from day one." Miguel and I launched a new business, Mountain Honest Contracting. We specialized in helping victims of property scams rebuild. Our motto, Honest work for honest people. And Rosemary, the lawyer who helped me through the storm, became something more. Those long nights over legal papers turned into morning coffees and quiet laughter. She traded her jasmine tea for the mountain sunrise beside me. "You realize you're famous, right?" she said one morning, scrolling through her laptop. "They want to make a Netflix documentary. The story had gone viral. Divorced contractor exposes serial killer. But more important than the fame was what followed. The FBI used our case to train new agents. The Harold Brennan Memorial Fund grew into a full initiative, the Mountain Elder Protection Program. It funded training for sheriffs, outreach for seniors, even bank alerts for suspicious account changes. Harold's death had saved lives. Fletcher moved to Colorado permanently. He bought a small cabin nearby. "Harold's spirit can finally rest," he said one evening as we fished together. The cabin I'd bought for $12,000 was now worth over $100,000, but its real value was immeasurable. It became a community hub. Weekend barbecues, winter story nights, summer trips for kids who'd never seen the mountains. One afternoon, my phone buzzed. Madison. Her voice was clear and steady. "I just wanted to thank you," she said. "If you'd walked away, Mom would have kept killing. You saved lives. She'd enrolled in a criminal justice program. Wanted to help victims like Harold." That call hit harder than any victory. I looked out over the peaks, remembering the first time I'd seen this place, thinking it was just a project, a flip, a fresh start. But it had become something else entirely, proof that good people could still win. The mountain breeze felt cleaner than ever. Justice didn't feel sweet. It felt pure, like air after a storm. The cabin stood strong again, filled with warmth and laughter instead of lies. What was once Harold's prison of manipulation had become a refuge of community and redemption. Every morning, as the light poured over the peaks, I whispered a silent promise. To keep fighting people like Brenda. To protect others from monsters hiding behind smiles. Because monsters aren't always in horror movies. Sometimes they wear yoga pants and call themselves victims. And sometimes justice catches up, even on a mountain.